Hey guys, Jim here. Welcome in once again. Today we're going to be taking a look at a different offering from Urban EDC Supply. This is the Nessie, and this is a Nessmuk design. And not only are we going to be talking about the Nessmuk design, where it comes from, what its advantages, features, and benefits are going to be, but we're also going to be talking about a nice little discount. As a matter of fact, let's get that out of the way right now. If you take a look right here on your screen, you're going to have a discount code. Notice my name is not in the discount code. I am not getting a kickback. There is nothing in this for me. It's only for you. So if you use this discount code, and yes, the discount code is in the description down below, so you can simply copy and paste it when you click the link down below. If you use that discount, you're going to get a if you use that discount code, you will get a discount on the various Nessies that are available on Urban EDC Supply. They've got a few different variations available. The one I'm showing you today is the micarta variation, and that one is going to get the steepest discount, I'm going to assume, because they probably made more of those available. So if you use that discount code, you will get a discount. Again, it's going to vary depending on the different variations that you choose. I'll try to, if I have a description of what the various discounts are, I'll try to list those when we get to the tabletop review. Now, what is a Nessmuk design? Well, very briefly, nobody really knows what the actual origin of this shape really is. What we know is it was popularized by George Washington Sears, who lived in the 1800s, from the early 1800s to the late 1800s, and he was kind of a camping pioneer. He was this little guy. He was like 5 foot tall and just a hair over 100 pounds, and he set out to prove that you didn't have to be a big, giant, strapping man to be a mountain man, to go out and do bushcraft and go out and do hunting and camping and all that kind of cool outdoorsy stuff. And he wrote various articles and even wrote a bushcrafting book. And one of the pictures, or one of the illustrations in one of those articles, he had his layout, his loadout, I should say, for what he used. And he had an axe, he had a small trapper style knife, and then he had a small fixed blade in this shape. And seeing as how his pen name was Nessmuk, which was basically his nickname that he borrowed from a childhood friend who was a Native American Indian that went by that name. His name was Nessmuk. He took that name and adopted it as his own. And I believe, as I read, he even named a couple of canoes after him. That name ended up sticking to this particular blade shape. Now, again, he popularized that name being attached to that blade shape, but nobody really knows who invented this particular blade shape or where it was actually created, but it's mainly attributed to him. So when you see this particular knife shape, it's called Nessmuk, and it's usually attributed to him. And the reason why it became so popular is because of that huge belly, which is really great for slicing, really great for food prep. It has a very practical purpose. Now, for me personally, it's not the most aesthetically pleasing. It's not the most attractive blade shape there is. There's a lot more that are. But as far as utility and usefulness, this really is one of the best. I love the fact that when you cut into something and you start right back here at the heel of the blade itself forces itself all the way into the material because of how steep that belly is. And it's also good for rocking cuts. It's good for slicing through things that are laying on a surface. It is a wonderful, wonderful utilitarian edge. And by putting it in this folder, you've got something that's in your pocket that, while it is compact and it is easy to carry, it's actually coming out to be quite a sizable and weighty blade just because of the depth of that belly, the depth of that blade. This is really a wonderful design if you're really going to be using your knife. You know, if you're the kind of person that really only collects knives, you know, just to stare at them, to look at them, and there's nothing wrong with that. We all buy things for different reasons. You know, you can bitch at the guy that buys a Ferrari just to park it in his garage and stare at it and polish the wheels every now and then. But if that's the enjoyment he gets, there's nothing wrong with that. So I'm not saying that anybody should be giving you hell just because you like to look at your knives instead of using them. But what I'm saying is, if you're buying your knives because you want to get some utilitarian purpose from them, this is really going to be a great style for you. Now, while there are full titanium frame lock versions, I think the micarta version is a great way to go because it does reduce the weight of it. It's got a wonderful tactility to it. I've stated over the years that I'm not a fan of the look of micarta personally for my knives, but the way that this handles, the way that it feels, and the lightweightness as compared to a full, you know, two-sided titanium frame lock, I think is going to benefit a lot of people. I also like the fact that they've chosen to do the micarta in the backspacer as well. It gives it kind of a tritone look, so you've got this coyote brown canvas micarta on this side, you've got the black micarta for the backspacer, then you've got the titanium for the frame lock side. It's got a really interesting look to it. And I got to tell you, the action is absolutely, oh, it's fantastic. You've got a really great detent. It's a sharp, strong detent. And it's just butter smooth on the opening and closing. But above all else, because I am looking at this as being a utilitarian knife, my favorite feature on this is this extraordinary edge. This thing is unbelievably sharp. So I believe for somebody that's looking for a great mainstay in their collection that they're going to enjoy carrying, they're going to enjoy flipping and fidgeting with, and they really want to get some great use out of, whether you're taking it outdoors or not, you're just cutting down cardboard boxes in your garage, or cutting paracord, or cutting straps off a shipment, or taking it to work and doing stuff there, whatever you're using it for, it's gonna cut like an absolute demon. And after all, when it comes down to collecting knives, we all want at least some of our knives in our collection to do that for us. And with the height of this grind, as thin as it comes down, that crazy edge that's on there, this is going to be a real super performer when it comes down to cutting. Where they've placed the jimping on this allows you to really put some leverage on that blade if you are going to be shaving down wood, if you're going to be doing any whittling, if you're going to be feathering, if you're going to be notching anything, you're going to be able to get some really, really good leverage on there as well. You don't, you know, a lot of companies will put their jimping all the way back here at the fulcrum of the blade, and that's fine, especially in a more tactical style knife, and that may fit a lot of users' hands. But if you're really going to be doing some really hard push cutting or something, you're going to want more leverage toward the middle and forward part of the blade, not all the way back here, because you're not going to be able to get that leverage. You're going to want to push all the way up here, and you're going to want to be able to push into that blade. And they've really thought about all the useful features of this knife, and it's very, very well laid out. I think it's a great price. We'll discuss a little bit more about price when we get into the full review, but I do want to say very quickly, the coupon code, the discount code, use it while it's there because you're getting a substantial discount, particularly on the micarta variation. Also, please do like and subscribe and all that kind of stuff that I have to say because of the algorithms that YouTube is applying very, very heavily on all knife-related videos these days. And if you're not already a member of my Patreon, please do hop on board if you'd like to support the channel. I very much appreciate that. Also, I give back as often as I possibly can and do giveaways. The last giveaway I just did was a $700 flipper that a lucky patron got their hands on for free. Well, I can't say for free, for a minimum Patreon sign up, which is $5 a month or $10 a month or $20 a month. So for as little as $5 a month, that person got a $700 knife, and that's a pretty sweet little deal if you ask me. Anyway, let's get down to the review and see exactly what the little details are about this knife and why I find it to be an absolute screaming deal. All right, so here we go. We're going to start things off with the packaging. We'll talk about the specs and the pricing. I'll give you guys the discount code once again. We'll talk about how the discount breaks out. We'll tell the story of the knife, and then I'll give you my thoughts on it and give you some comparisons to other knives, and that's pretty much the way it's going to break out. So the packaging, just like most of Urban EDC Supply's products, you'll get the white outer box. You've got the Urban EDC Supply compass on the top. On the side here, it's going to give you an idea of what you're getting with a description of the materials. And that's pretty much it. Barcode on the back. Let's get this opened up. Inside will be the zippered pouch. Once again, nicely branded on the zippered pouch. Get that opened up. You've got the knife inside, of course. And then, what is this card right here? Oh, that's actually kind of nice. Let's take a look at that. So, take my glasses off here so I can see it a little bit better through my viewfinder. And then you guys can pause that and read it if you would like to. And then let's get on over to the knife itself. And I got to tell you, again, I don't think it's the sexiest design in the world, but it's meant to be a utilitarian design. I still think there's going to be lots and lots of people that are going to find it very attractive. It really just depends on what you're into. And as I describe the story and where it comes from, I think you're really going to get an understanding as to why it looks the way that it looks. So first things first, Urban EDC Supply Nessie, that is the full name. These are $239. And what Urban EDC Supply is doing is they're working with a company called Zip, which does these cool payment plan things. So you can get these on 4 payments of, I think it's like $59.75. Anyway, it's a couple pennies short of $60. So you have that option. So if you don't feel like, dropping $239 right out of the gate, you do have that payment plan option. So that's kind of neat, especially for those of us that are always, we're trying to fill that void where, you buy one knife, you're like, oh, that's awesome, it's on the way. Oh, crap, now I feel the need to buy another knife. Well, it's easier to do that if you're doing it on payments instead of buying them, 100% payment up front. So if that's the kind of collector you are, that might make things a little bit easier for you to do that. Let's see here. I'm going to read very quickly how they have the description, the little story written up on the website, just so that I don't miss anything. I know I mentioned to you guys on the previous video that I've been having some pretty major health concerns, and one of those has kind of messed with my mind a little bit. It's been making things a bit hard for me to focus, and it's been affecting my memory a little bit. So I did type up or copied over what they wrote, and I think they wrote it very nicely, and it makes it very easy for me to kind of get it all out in one quick statement. So as they wrote it, the Nessie is an evolution of the popular Nessie slipjoint, the pattern of which was created by TJ Trailer. The Urban EDC Nessie frame lock is brought to life in a special collaboration between custom knife makers Chris Taylor and Eric Luther and Urban EDC Supply. So there's their little blurb on that. And that makes my life a lot easier. So what are the specs? The specs are 7 3/4 inches in overall length with a 3 1/4 inch blade. It weighs 5 ounces in the micarta variations and in the G10 variation as well, because they do a really, really nice one in JG10, which if I was going to be buying one, if I didn't do the full titanium version, I'd probably do the JG10. I'm kind of on a JG10 kick lately. I don't really know why. I used to really not like the look of JG10, or as others call it, natural G10. But for some reason lately, I really dig it. Anyway, but if you go with the all titanium, so titanium scales on both sides, it's 5 1/2 ounces. And these are made in China. Now, if you get the full titanium, the green micarta, or the JG10, you'll get 5% off with the coupon code UECDNESS5. Or if you get the brown micarta, which is this variation, you get 10% off with the code UED, whatever. It's sitting here on the screen. I don't have to read the whole thing off to you. So you have those two different coupon codes. One for 5%, one for 10%. This one is the one that is 10%. So it's obviously the one that they have made more available of. So I kind of dig the fact that it's a three-way collaboration. Chris Taylor, by the way, is Tailor Made Knives. Go follow him. He, by the way, makes a Nessmuk slip joint. So if you're more of a traditional knife collector and you're not into frame locks, you're not into flippers, but you like this Nessmuk blade profile, then grab one of the slip joints that he makes as a custom. Obviously, it's going to be more expensive than buying a production-made knife like this, but you're going to get one hell of a great, beautiful knife. And then also you have Eric Luther. If you don't know who Eric Luther is, you've probably been living under a rock. Go follow him as well. I will also put their social medias in the description down below as well. I'm a huge fan of Eric Luther. I think he's also a phenomenal individual, super nice guy. I've known him for years. Really, really talented knife maker and a phenomenal human individual as well. Let's give you some quick size comparisons here. I'm going to put this clip up so that it's not sitting at a funky angle with some knives that are in a comparable size. We'll take a look at the ProTech Bob Terzola ATCF because they are very, very comparable in size. Nearly identical, as a matter of fact, in overall size and blade length. And you'll notice again, here is where that big difference is going to be with that Nessmuk design, with that very tall blade shape, with that very deep belly. If this is going to be used for a lot of cutting tasks, this blade shape may benefit you a lot more than this blade shape. Nothing wrong with a great spear point. It's going to be a great everyday carry knife. However, this may be better served for those that are doing more cutting during the day, a lot more utilitarian purposes. This is probably going to do you a lot better. Another comparable size, you guys know this is still one of my absolute favorite knives in the entire world. It's my Varga Knives VBR. And that also is nearly identical in size. But once again, that taller blade, much more belly to it. It's not going to be as piercing as either of those two blade profiles. It still does come down to a point. It still will pierce. It will still stab. But these two obviously would be better for that particular task. But this is going to be more of a utilitarian blade. As I get that beauty out of the way, we'll go a little bit smaller and bring out the Vero Engineering Impulse Mini. Is it the Impulse? Oh my God. See, there I go again. My mind is absolutely fading right now. And I cannot apologize to you guys enough. For a knife that I love as much as I do and carry as often as I do, and you'd think I'd remember the name right off the top of my head. Anyway, this Vero is considerably smaller. They do make a regular size, which would come to right about here, and then they make an extra large that would be just a little bit larger than that. Synapse, thank you for my mind finally working. This is the Synapse Mini. Yikes. So that gives you your size comparison there. Now, as far as the way it feels in the hand, oh my goodness, it is, honestly, for my size hand, again, I wear a size large to extra large motorcycle glove, and it fits my hand perfectly. It's not too short where I feel like my pinky is hanging off. Even riding right up against the flipper tab right there, it is absolutely perfect. Fits in my hand, got a little bit hanging over the edge there. The way that they've done a slab-sided flat scales on both sides, I feel like it's going to sit in the hand really well under any kind of hard cutting. It's not going to torque and twist in my hand. It's going to sit in there really, really well. I've got a good purchase on it. As I mentioned in the intro, you've got a really good amount of jimping in the right spot, right where it needs to be. So if you're going to be doing any kind of push cutting, you're going to have the leverage right where you need it. Again, it's not back here. I don't really have anything. Here we go. Here's something with jimping far back on the spine of the blade. I mentioned a lot of times you'll have jimping way back here toward the pivot, toward the fulcrum of the blade, and so it's back here. So if you're push cutting something up here, you know, it's hard to get that leverage. Obviously, you could put your thumb wherever the hell you want to, but you're not going to have that wonderful grip of the jimping, so you might feel that your thumb is slipping around a little bit. Whereas with the Nessie, you've got your thumb right there in the jimping where it needs to be, and you've got that leverage exactly where it needs to be. So getting down to it, when it's a knife that is going to have some utility to it, this was very well thought out all the way around. I had mentioned also in the intro that I like the fact that they used micarta for the backspacer. That's really not a common thing, at least not in the tactical knife world that is generally what I tend to collect within. So I really like seeing that. Everything is put together very well. It's a seamless transition between the components. It feels really nice. You've got a lanyard hole back here. So if you do choose to have if you choose to have a lanyard on there, you've certainly got the room for it. The pocket clip is a really nicely made pocket clip with a lot of tension to it. It is not a deep carry pocket clip. It's not meant to be. This is, I mean, again, we'll go back to what I've said for nearly a decade on this channel. This is not Operation Secret Squirrel. You are not trying to do some kind of deep cover mission where you have to hide your knife and nobody in the world can see it. It's a knife, man. Plus, any pocket clip that's hanging out, no matter, this is fairly deep carry. And let's face it, that's all still hanging out of your pocket anyway. People know it's a knife that you've got clipped in your pocket. It doesn't matter how deep the damn thing is. They see that hanging outside of your pocket. I don't understand the fascination. I really, really don't. But regardless, it carries very well. It's a hefty little girl. You're definitely going to notice it in the pocket. It's not exceedingly thin, but really it's not too terribly thick either when compared to anything else of comparable size. It's going to be right around the same thickness as almost anything else that you're going to be carrying. So it's, even though it feels, and it really does, even though it feels like it's a hard use knife, it doesn't feel like it's going to be cumbersome to carry. It's not going to get in the way of your daily life. I think if there's something that I would change, I would have really liked to have seen a relief cut in the presentation side scale to allow you to access the lock bar more easily. The scale and the lock bar are at the exact same height, so you don't get to access it very easily. You have to actually get down and push the meat of your thumb down in between to get to it. Is it difficult to manipulate? No, not at all. However, it would just make things a little bit easier, especially if you were to have like really big fat thumbs. I really don't. But if you did, I can imagine somebody with a big, wide, and big fat thumb might have a little bit of a hard time doing that. So that would be a nice maybe Gen 2 to have a little bit of a cutaway there, just so that you could access that lock a little bit more easily. Speaking of lock, there is your lockup. You do have a steel-on-steel engagement there, thanks to the steel lock bar insert that's set up on there. And as I feel, yes, it does have a stabilizer built in, so you cannot overextend that titanium lock bar, and you can actually see it right in there if you look just close enough. I guess I can actually bring it in so you can see it right there. I like how the pivot's done. It's nice and flush. They've put a nice counter bevel on there as well. It's also flush here against the presentation side with a bevel on that piece of hardware as well. Everything here has been nicely beveled and contoured for comfort. So even though you have a flat-sided knife on both sides, you don't have any hot spots or any harsh edges in your hand. Do you feel the pocket clip? Let me see. Yeah, no, not really. I don't really feel the pocket clip at all. I mean, you know it's there, but there's no harshness to it whatsoever. So again, if you're doing any kind of really hard cutting, I don't think that's going to be in your way at all. The lock bar tension, a little bit on the stiff side. Not bad. Nothing that I would call out as being a bad thing. Let's see, I really can't find any negatives. I think they probably could have fit a little bit more blade in there. Probably could have gotten a little more blade and been just fine. But I can't find any negatives, to be perfectly honest with you. Everything about this knife, it's built very, very solidly, very well done. I think at $239, this is an absolutely screaming deal. I could very easily see anybody coming out with this knife easily at $150, maybe $175 more expensive, and nobody would have had a single complaint about it. The finish work on the titanium is nice. It feels good. It looks good. The two-tone finish on the blade, I would have to say the same. It feels good and it looks good. Nice stonewash on the primary bevel, and then what appears to be a hand-rubbed satin. I doubt that it's hand-rubbed, but a horizontal satin on the flats and ricasso looks very nice. You've got a very subtle bevel coming down into a swedge going down toward the tip, not all the way to the tip. That leaves it beefy and reinforced. They did a great job on that. I think that looks pretty damn good as well. Very handsome overall on the finish work. They didn't cheap out on anything when it comes to the detail work and the manufacturing on this. I think they did an excellent job. They pocketed out the titanium to reduce the weight. Great job on that. So yeah, again, I'd have to say, oh, you know what? Let me look at this too. They also reinforced the micarta with titanium inside of the micarta. I had not noticed that when I was playing with it before. Maybe I did and I just don't remember it. But nicely done on there as well. So you're going to have that tensile strength as well. Not that you're ever going to be laying your knife down and then standing on it or anything, but it's certainly not going to collapse because you've got that support structure built in there. Very nicely done. Yeah, I mean, there's really nothing to be critical of with this knife. They've done a commendable job all the way around, and as I mentioned in the intro, the edge is absolutely fantastic. It is stupidly sharp. So I think it kind of does everything it's set out to do. It is a rugged built knife. It's not excessively overbuilt, by the way. I think a lot of people have that concern these days when we talk about a utilitarian knife that's meant to be for hard use. That's when people kind of want to roll their eyes and go, oh God, here comes that term again, friggin' overbuilt. I don't see it to be that way. I don't feel like it is an overbuilt knife. We're not looking at a 1/4 inch thick blade and 1/4 inch thick everything and, you know, an 1.5 inch thick in overall thickness. It doesn't have any of those attributes. You know, it doesn't have an oversized pivot. It's not ridiculous in any of its specifications. I think it's a classically designed overall design, overall theme in its look. And I feel that it's an easy enough to carry knife in a traditional size. Again, you're not doing anything out of the ordinary for what you would consider to be a traditional size pocket knife. And you've got something that feels very robust. I wouldn't feel that I'm carrying anything that wouldn't be up to task if I were to go out in the woods with this thing. I think they did a great job on the action. The detent, as I mentioned, is very crisp. It feels like a flat-faced detent. It's very strong, very crisp, allows the blade to just come rocketing right out. It's very smooth as well on the action. The lockup is really good. The edge is fantastic. I mean, they just did everything well. Is this going to win any major awards? Probably not. It doesn't have anything that's so stand out on it that you go, oh my God, it's absolutely amazing. And it's so flashy and pretty. It's not mirror polished. There's no Timascus. There's, there's nothing particularly innovative. There's no, crazy lock system. There's nothing on this that you go, wow, I can't believe they made this. But not every friggin' knife has to be that. What they've done is they've just made a damn solid, good knife that's made for cutting, that's easy to carry, that kind of just does everything they set out to do. They put what I consider to be not just a fair price, but a very affordable price for all that you're getting. By the way, I did forget to mention the blade steel. The entire video, I apologize, it's M390, so you're getting a quality microclean steel. It's going to hold an edge for a good long time with a great degree of corrosion resistance. So it's doing everything that you want a really good pocket knife to do, and it feels robust and tough. So, I mean, what more really could you ask for $239? Plus, now you're going to get 10% off of this one, or 5% off the other variations, which again, oh my God, that JG10. And then, of course, I mean, the all bead blasted titanium, who wouldn't want that? So, yeah, you got a lot of great options. I think it's a good way to go. Would I put one in my collection? I think if I really needed a high performance cutter and I wanted something with a really good amount of belly for that specific type of cutting, yes, absolutely. I already have a lot of knives in my collection, and I personally collect more toward the styling of a tactical sort of knife. So it's not my particular style, but I think it will suit a lot of people very, very well. And all the time that I've been sitting here playing with it, I've really, really enjoyed it. I'm going to say this. There's one more change I would make. I have to be perfectly honest. Not just the relief cut here, but I would make the corners, and they have, I'm going to be fair. Let me give you a close-up so that you see what I'm talking about. They did round off the corners on the flipper tab, but I would have curved it. I would have rounded it a little bit more, because somebody with maybe more delicate fingers that likes to fidget over and over and over and over, they're going to find that to be rather abusive after a while. So maybe 2 changes. That's really about it. Okay, 3. Because I just noticed my finger slipped off. I'd add a couple jimping cuts. All right, that's about it. That ain't too damn bad. There's certainly a lot of really great knives out there that I have made a lot more suggestions on. So them's my thoughts. Let me know down below if you agree or disagree and what your thoughts are on the knife overall. And if you have a Nessmuk in your collection and what you think of it. Until then, I'll see you guys on the next video.